Millionaire CEO Marcus Sterling froze when he saw the woman in military uniform entering the meeting room. The same pregnant woman he had abandoned 5 years ago, accusing her of betrayal. Now she wore general's stars on her shoulders, and beside her, 3 identical girls in immaculate white dresses stared at him with disturbingly familiar eyes. What Marcus didn't know was that in the next few minutes, his perfect life alongside his wife Victoria would be completely destroyed by a truth he had refused to accept. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. I'm sorry, sir, but you can't go in there. Mr. Sterling is in an important meeting, the assistant said, blocking the elevator doors. I've been waiting for 5 years. His meeting can wait 5 minutes, replied General Jasmine Carter, her voice calm but firm. Behind her stood 3 identical 5-year-old girls in white dresses, their dark eyes wide as they looked around the fancy office building. Inside the Sterling Technologies boardroom, Marcus Sterling stood tall in his tailored Navy suit. At 40 years old, he commanded the room with the confidence of someone who had everything. His short, dark hair was perfectly styled, with just a touch of gray at the temples that he carefully covered with expensive dye. As you can see from these numbers, our first quarter earnings exceeded expectations by 20%, Marcus said, pointing to the large screen behind him. 12 board members in expensive suits nodded with approval. Marcus glanced at his childhood friend and company CFO, David Perkins, who gave him a thumbs up from the side of the room. Everything was going perfectly, just as Marcus had planned. He clicked to the next slide. Our new software platform has already signed 50 major clients, and we're on track to... The boardroom door opened. Marcus looked up, annoyed at the interruption. His irritation turned to shock when he saw who stood in the doorway. General Jasmine Carter walked in, her military uniform decorated with medals across her chest. Behind her were 3 small girls, each with the same face and the same eyes as Marcus. The room fell completely silent. I believe we have unfinished business, Marcus, Jasmine said. Marcus froze. The remote control slipped from his hand and clattered on the polished table. 12 hours earlier, Marcus had woken up in his Beacon Hill home feeling completely in control of his life. The morning sun streamed through expensive curtains as he stretched in his king-sized bed. Next to him, his wife Victoria was already putting on her pearl earrings. "Early meeting?" he asked, admiring her blonde hair and perfect makeup. "Charity board breakfast," Victoria replied. She was 35, elegant in every way, from her posture to her designer clothes. "Don't forget our anniversary dinner tonight." 5 wonderful years, Marcus said, getting up to kiss her cheek. "I made reservations at Sorolina, 8 o'clock. Victoria smiled. "Perfect. I have a surprise for you today, too." Marcus watched her leave, then headed to the shower. As water streamed over him, he mentally reviewed his schedule. Board meeting at 10, lunch with investors at noon, conference call at 2. Everything organized, everything controlled. This was what success looked like. This was what he had worked for. At 9:30, Marcus strode through the glass doors of Sterling Technologies, the company he had built from nothing into a multi-million-dollar business. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling," the receptionist called. "Morning, Diane. Any messages?" Marcus asked, not breaking his stride toward the elevator. "Just Mr. Perkins. He's waiting in your office." Marcus nodded and continued walking. Employees smiled nervously as he passed. He knew he intimidated them, and he liked it that way. Respect came from power, and power came from success. His corner office overlooked downtown Boston. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a city that Marcus sometimes felt belonged to him. From his humble beginnings in South Boston to this, it was the American dream. David Perkins stood when Marcus entered. "Ready for the board meeting?" David asked, offering a coffee. "Born ready," Marcus replied, taking the cup. "How do the numbers look?" "Better than expected. Stock price is up 15% from last quarter." Marcus smiled. Victoria and I are celebrating our anniversary tonight. 5 years of perfect marriage to go with 5 years of perfect growth. David hesitated. Must be nice, having everything so perfect. Something in David's tone made Marcus look up. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, David said quickly. Just, you've come a long way from South Boston. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's because I left South Boston behind, where it belongs. He didn't like thinking about his past, the rundown apartment, his mother's addiction problems, his absent father. That was another life, one he had escaped. Let's review the presentation one more time, Marcus said, changing the subject. At 9:55, Marcus's assistant knocked on his door. The board members are arriving, sir. Thank you, Jennifer. Tell them I'll be right there. Before leaving his office, Marcus straightened the photo of him and Victoria on his desk. They looked like the perfect couple, successful, beautiful, happy. No one looking at that photo would guess that 5 years ago Marcus had been in Washington, D.C. walking away from his pregnant girlfriend, Jasmine Carter, a promising black military officer. When Jasmine had told him about the pregnancy, Marcus had coldly denied the baby was his. He accused her of cheating despite their 3-year relationship. Then he blocked her number and returned to Boston to pursue Victoria Hamilton, whose wealthy New York family had connections that helped his company grow. Marcus pushed those thoughts away. That was in the past. He had made his choice, and he had moved on. Jasmine probably had too. His phone rang. It was one of the board members, Harold Wilson. Marcus, I'm running 5 minutes late. Traffic on Starro Drive. No problem, Harold. We'll wait for you. How are the numbers looking? Strong. Very strong. We're up 15%. Excellent. I never doubted you for a minute, son. Marcus hung up and looked out his window at Boston. From up here, everything seemed small and manageable. This was his kingdom, built on hard work and smart decisions, and lies, but necessary lies. At 10:15, Marcus stood at the head of the boardroom table. All 12 board members were seated, looking at him with respect. The quarterly earnings presentation was going perfectly. Our growth strategy is working exactly as planned, Marcus said, clicking to a slide showing an upward trending graph. We've increased market share by 18% while keeping costs low. The board members nodded approvingly. This was what they wanted to hear. Marcus was about to move to the next slide when the boardroom door opened. His first thought was annoyance. He had given strict instructions not to be interrupted. His second thought was confusion. Who was this woman in a military uniform? Then he recognized her. Jasmine Carter stood in the doorway, her posture perfect, her face calm. She looked different from 5 years ago, more confident, more powerful. The medals on her uniform showed she had risen in rank considerably. But it was the 3 little girls behind her that made Marcus's blood run cold. 3 identical faces, all with his eyes, his nose, his mouth. I believe we have unfinished business, Marcus, Jasmine said. The remote slipped from Marcus's hand. Who are these people? Asked Patricia Hughes, one of the board members. Marcus couldn't speak. His mouth opened, but no words came out. My name is General Jasmine Carter, Jasmine said, addressing the room. And these are Olivia, Emma, and Ava Carter. They're 5 years old. She looked directly at Marcus. They're your daughters, Marcus, all 3 of them. Triplets. The board members exchanged shocked glances. David stood up from his chair, staring first at the girls, then at Marcus. There must be some mistake, Marcus finally managed to say, his voice weak. No mistake, Jasmine replied. I think you've known that all along. Marcus felt the carefully constructed walls of his perfect life begin to crumble. The board members were staring at him. David looked stunned, and the 3 little girls, his daughters, were watching him with curious eyes, seeing their father for the first time. In that moment, Marcus realized that his perfect life had been built on shifting sand. And now, as Jasmine stood before him with living proof of his biggest lie, that sand was giving way beneath his feet. Marcus stared at the three little girls, their eyes, his eyes, looking back at him with innocent curiosity. The boardroom remained silent as everyone processed Jasmine's words. "This is completely inappropriate," Marcus finally said, struggling to keep his voice steady. He pressed the intercom button on the table. "Jennifer, please call security to escort these unexpected visitors out." Jasmine didn't move. "That won't be necessary, Marcus. I'm not leaving until we address this situation properly." She placed a manila envelope on the conference table. "These are DNA test results confirming you are the father of my daughters, all three of them." David Perkins, who had been frozen in place since Jasmine's entrance, slowly approached the table and picked up the envelope. He removed several official-looking documents and examined them carefully. "These appear legitimate, Marcus," David said quietly. Patricia Hughes, the most outspoken board member, cleared her throat. "Mr. Sterling, perhaps we should postpone this meeting until you've had a chance to address this personal matter." Marcus felt trapped. Sweat formed on his forehead as he looked around the room. 12 pairs of eyes stared back at him, filled with confusion and judgment. "This is a misunderstanding," Marcus insisted. "I don't know what these people want, but this is clearly an attempt to extort money from the company." "Money?" Jasmine's voice remained calm but carried a sharp edge. "I don't want your money, Marcus. The girls and I have everything we need. What they don't have is acknowledgement from their father." The middle triplet, Emma, tugged at Jasmine's uniform. "Is that him, Mommy? Is that our daddy?" Before Jasmine could answer, the boardroom door opened again. Victoria Sterling stood in the doorway holding several paper lunch bags. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her cream-colored dress immaculate. Her smile faded as she took in the scene before her. "I brought lunch for your anniversary," Victoria said, her voice small. "The receptionist said I could come up." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "Victoria, this isn't—" "I've raised these girls while building my military career," Jasmine was explaining to the board members. "I became one of the youngest generals in modern history while being a single mother to triplets." Victoria's hands trembled, causing the lunch bags to fall to the floor. "What is going on, Marcus?" All eyes turned to Victoria. The silence in the room was suffocating. "Mrs. Sterling, I presume," Jasmine said. "I'm General Jasmine Carter. These are Olivia, Emma, and Ava. They're 5 years old, and they're your husband's daughters." Victoria's gaze shifted from Jasmine to the girls, then finally to Marcus. "Is this true?" Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. "I think this meeting is adjourned," Harold Wilson announced, standing up. The other board members quickly followed suit, gathering their materials and filing out of the room, avoiding eye contact with Marcus. Soon only Marcus, David, Victoria, Jasmine, and the girls remained. 5 years ago in Washington, D.C., Jasmine said to Victoria, "Marcus and I were together for 3 years. When I told him I was pregnant, he denied the babies were his and disappeared. I later discovered I was carrying triplets." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "We've been married for 5 years." "Yes," Jasmine nodded. "He left me and found you very quickly." Marcus finally found his voice. "Victoria, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" Victoria's voice cracked. "That you have 3 children you never told me about? That our entire marriage began while you were abandoning your pregnant girlfriend?" David stepped forward. "I think the girls shouldn't have to witness this. Perhaps I could show them our break room. We have cookies and juice." Jasmine hesitated, then nodded. "That would be kind. Girls, go with Mr. Perkins for a few minutes." "But Mom," Olivia, the most outspoken triplet, protested. "We just found our dad." "And you'll have more time with him later," Jasmine assured her. "Right now, grown-ups need to talk." After David led the girls out, Victoria turned to Marcus. "Were you ever going to tell me?" "I didn't know they were triplets," Marcus said weakly. That's what you're focusing on? Victoria asked incredulously. Not the fact that you abandoned your pregnant girlfriend and lied to me for 5 years? I didn't think they were mine, Marcus insisted. That's a lie, Jasmine said firmly. We were exclusive for 3 years and you knew it. You just didn't want the responsibility. Victoria wiped tears from her cheeks. I need to go. Victoria, please. Marcus reached for her arm, but she pulled away. Don't touch me, she whispered. I don't know who you are anymore. She walked out, leaving Marcus alone with Jasmine. Why now? Marcus asked, his voice hoarse. After 5 years, why show up now? The girls have been asking about their father, Jasmine explained. I decided they deserved to know the truth, no matter how disappointing that truth might be. Before Marcus could respond, David returned with the girls. They're wonderful children, he said to Jasmine. You've done an amazing job raising them. Thank you, Jasmine replied. She turned to Marcus. We're staying at the Marriott downtown for 2 weeks. The girls would like to get to know their father if he's interested in being one. Marcus stared at the 3 little faces looking up at him with hopeful expressions. Olivia had a determined look in her eyes. Emma was partially hiding behind her sister. Ava, the quietest one, simply studied him with thoughtful eyes. I need time to process this, Marcus said. They've had 5 years without a father, Jasmine responded. I think they've waited long enough. After Jasmine and the girls left, David closed the boardroom door and faced his friend. Did you know? Marcus asked. About Jasmine and the girls? No, David replied. But I always wondered why you suddenly ended things with Jasmine and rushed into marriage with Victoria 5 years ago. I built this company from nothing, Marcus said defensively. Everything I did was to secure our future. At what cost, Marcus? David asked. You abandoned your pregnant girlfriend. You lied to your wife. Now 3 little girls have grown up without a father. Don't judge me, Marcus snapped. You have no idea what it took to get here. You're right, David conceded. But as your friend and CFO, I should warn you, this story will get out. The board members were shocked. Patricia Hughes was already making calls when she left the room. By late afternoon, Marcus's prediction proved true. His assistant Jennifer knocked tentatively on his office door. Sir, there's a reporter from the Boston Globe on line 1. They're asking for comment on what they're calling Tech CEO's secret family. Marcus buried his face in his hands. Tell them no comment. After Jennifer left, Marcus's phone buzzed with a text message from Victoria. I'm staying at the Four Seasons tonight. I need time alone. Don't come home. At 7 o'clock, Marcus finally left the office. The drive to his Beacon Hill home felt longer than usual. When he arrived, the house was quiet and dark. In their bedroom, Victoria's closet door stood open, with several empty hangers where her clothes had been. On her pillow was her wedding ring and a handwritten note. I can't be with someone I don't know, and I never really knew you at all. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, the weight of his deception finally catching up to him. The perfect life he had carefully constructed was coming apart. His marriage, his company, his reputation, everything was at risk because of the choices he made 5 years ago. His phone buzzed again. It was David. The Boston Herald just posted an article online about today's events. The stock is already dropping in after-hours trading. We need to discuss damage control tomorrow morning. Marcus turned off his phone and looked around the empty bedroom. For the first time since he was a child in South Boston, he felt completely lost and alone. Marcus stared at his silent phone. After turning it back on, more bad news flooded the screen. The company stock had already dropped 5%. 3 more reporters had called his office. 2 board members had emailed their concerns. His perfect life had shattered in less than 24 hours. Sleep never came that night. When morning arrived, Marcus showered and put on his most expensive suit like armor. In the mirror, he noticed new lines around his eyes. He looked older than 40. At the office, employees fell silent when he walked past. Their whispers resumed the moment he turned the corner. His assistant, Jennifer, looked up nervously when he approached her desk. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. I have several urgent messages." "Not now," Marcus said, walking straight into his office and closing the door. David arrived 15 minutes later holding a stack of newspapers. He placed them on Marcus's desk without a word. The headlines were brutal. Tech CEO's secret family revealed. Sterling Technologies leader abandoned pregnant girlfriend. Triple trouble, CEO faces past mistakes. "The stock is down 15%, David said finally. "Patricia Hughes has called for an emergency board meeting to discuss your leadership." Marcus loosened his tie. "How bad is it?" "Bad," David replied. "3 major clients have put their contracts on hold. They're concerned about the company's stability." "And Victoria?" David hesitated. "She's hired divorce attorney Elaine Winters, one of the best in Boston." Marcus's desk phone rang. Jennifer's voice came through the speaker. "Sir, Mrs. Sterling's lawyer is on line 1. The conversation was brief and cold. Victoria would only communicate through her attorney from now on. She needed time and space. She would send someone to collect more of her things tomorrow. After hanging up, Marcus turned to David. "I need to fix this." "Which part?" David asked. "Your marriage? Your company? Or the fact that you have 3 5-year-old daughters you've never met?" Marcus rubbed his temples. "All of it. But I think I need to start with the girls." "That's the first smart thing you've said," David replied. That afternoon, Marcus called the Marriott and asked for Jasmine's room. His heart raced as the phone rang. "This is General Carter," Jasmine answered formally. "It's Marcus. I'd like to see the girls." A long pause followed. "Why?" "Because they're my daughters," Marcus said, surprising himself with how right the words felt. "You didn't want to be their father 5 years ago. What changed?" "Everything," Marcus admitted. "Please, Jasmine, I'd like to meet them properly, not in a boardroom with everyone watching." After another long silence, Jasmine agreed. "There's a park in Cambridge near the hotel. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll be there for 1 hour. Don't be late." The next day, Marcus arrived at the park 30 minutes early. He sat on a bench watching other parents with their children. He had never paid attention to families before. Now he couldn't look away. At exactly 2 o'clock, Jasmine arrived holding hands with the triplets. They wore matching red coats but different colored hats. Blue for Olivia, purple for Emma, and yellow for Ava. Marcus stood up, suddenly nervous. "Hello," he said awkwardly. "Girls," Jasmine said, "this is Marcus Sterling." "Your father?" Olivia stepped forward first, looking directly into Marcus's eyes. "Why weren't you at our birthdays?" "We had 5 birthdays already." Marcus knelt down to her level. "I made a very big mistake. I should have been there." "Were you in the army too?" Emma asked quietly. "No," Marcus replied. "I run a company that makes computer programs." "What kind of programs?" Olivia asked. "Programs that help businesses work better." "That sounds boring," Olivia declared. "I like science programs. I'm going to be a scientist." "Olivia loves experiments," Jasmine explained. "Emma plays piano, and Ava loves looking at the stars." Ava hadn't spoken yet. She stood slightly behind her sisters, watching Marcus carefully with his own eyes. "Would you like to play on the swings?" Marcus asked them. Emma and Olivia nodded eagerly. Ava just followed her sisters. Marcus pushed them on the swings, one after another. Their laughter made something shift inside him. These were his children, his daughters. They had existed for 5 years without him. "Higher!" Olivia demanded. "Not too high," Jasmine cautioned. As the girls played, Jasmine sat beside Marcus on a nearby bench. "They've been asking about you for years," she said quietly. "What do you tell children when their father doesn't want them?" "What did you tell them?" Marcus asked. "That you lived far away, that you were busy. Eventually, I decided they deserved the truth." "Why now?" Marcus asked again. Jasmine watched the girls climbing on the playground. They started kindergarten. The other kids talk about their dads. They had too many questions I couldn't answer anymore. After an hour, Jasmine called to the girls. "Time to go!" "5 more minutes," Olivia called back. "No, we need to get back for your nap." "We don't take naps anymore," Emma protested, but she was already yawning. As they prepared to leave, Marcus said impulsively, "Maybe you could visit my house sometime. I have a big backyard." Jasmine didn't answer, neither accepting nor rejecting his offer. The girls waved goodbye as they walked away, all except Ava, who continued to study him silently. Back at Sterling Technologies, more bad news awaited. David met Marcus in the lobby, his expression grim. 3 major investors are threatening to pull out. They say the scandal makes the company too risky. "We'll survive," Marcus said. "There's more. The board has scheduled a vote of confidence for next month. Patricia Hughes has been calling members one by one." Marcus nodded, surprised by how little he cared about the company crisis compared to the meeting he just had with his daughters. "We'll handle it." That evening, Marcus returned to his empty house. He opened a bottle of whiskey but didn't pour a glass. Instead, he walked through the rooms, seeing them through new eyes. The house was perfect, expensive, and completely unsuitable for children. No toys, no color, nothing that would interest 3 5-year-old girls. The doorbell rang at 9 o'clock. When Marcus opened the door, he found an older black man in an expensive suit standing on his porch. "Marcus Sterling?" the man asked. "Yes. My name is Richard Carter. I'm Jasmine's father and a federal judge. May I come in?" Marcus stepped aside, feeling like he was facing a different kind of judgment than the one he feared from his board. Judge Carter declined Marcus's offer of a drink and sat in the living room, looking around at the expensive furniture and art. "Nice place," he said without emotion. "Very different from the home where my granddaughters have grown up." "Judge Carter?" "Richard," the older man corrected. "We're family, after all, though not by my choice." "What do you want?" Marcus asked. "I wanted to see the man who abandoned my daughter and granddaughters," Richard replied calmly. "I wanted to look you in the eye and ask how you sleep at night." "Not well recently," Marcus admitted. "Do you know when the girls took their first steps?" Richard asked. "Olivia was first at 10 months. Always in a hurry, that one. Emma was 11 months. Ava waited until 13 months, but she never fell once." Marcus said nothing. "Their first words?" Olivia said, "Book." Emma said, "Mama." Ava said, "Star." "They've had 5 birthdays, 5 Christmases, 5 first days of school. Where were you?" "I made a mistake," Marcus said quietly. "A mistake is forgetting an appointment," Richard replied. "What you did was a choice, a deliberate choice to walk away from your responsibility." "I can't change the past," Marcus said. "No, you can't," Richard agreed. "Those moments are gone forever. But my granddaughters are still here. They ask about you every birthday." "Will Daddy come this year?" "What do you tell children when their father doesn't want them?" The question hung in the air between them. "I'd like to be part of their lives now," Marcus said. Richard stood up. "Words are easy, Mr. Sterling. Actions matter. My daughter is the strongest person I know. She became a general while raising 3 children alone. She doesn't need your money or your guilt. The girls, however, need a father. The question is whether you're capable of being one." As Richard walked to the door, he turned back. "They'll be in Boston for 2 more weeks. After that, they return to Washington. Your time to decide what kind of man you are is limited." After the door closed, Marcus stood alone in his perfect empty house. The judge's words echoed in his mind. What do you tell children when their father doesn't want them? For the first time since Jasmine had walked into his boardroom, Marcus felt the full weight of what he had done 5 years ago. He hadn't just walked away from a responsibility. He had walked away from 3 little humans who shared his blood, his eyes, his DNA. The company crisis, the board vote, even Victoria's departure, All of it suddenly seemed small compared to the time he had lost with his daughters. Time he could never get back. Marcus couldn't sleep that night. He paced through his empty house until dawn, thinking about his 3 daughters and all the moments he had missed. Their first steps, their first words, 5 birthdays he would never get back. 2 days later, an official-looking envelope arrived at his office. His assistant Jennifer placed it on his desk without making eye contact. "These came for you, Mr. Sterling, from Mrs. Sterling's attorney." Marcus opened the envelope. Inside were legal separation papers, coldly outlining the division of assets. Victoria's signature was already on the bottom line, her once familiar handwriting now looking like a stranger's. The office atmosphere had changed dramatically. When Marcus walked through the main floor, conversations stopped. Employees looked away or pretended to be busy. Only his assistant and David treated him normally, though even David's loyalty seemed strained. "3 more major clients have put their contracts on hold," David reported during their morning meeting. "They're concerned about the company's stability. The stock has dropped another 8%. "How bad can it get?" Marcus asked. "Worse," David replied honestly. "Patricia Hughes is telling investors you're distracted and unfit to lead. She's suggesting the board appoint an interim CEO until the personal situation is resolved." Marcus stared out his office window at the Boston skyline. A week ago, he had felt like he owned this view. Now it seemed distant, like something that belonged to someone else. "I need to see my daughters again," Marcus said suddenly. David looked surprised. "The company is in crisis and that's what you're thinking about?" "Yes," Marcus said, realizing it was true. "For the first time in my life, something matters more than this company." That afternoon, Marcus called Jasmine. "I'd like to establish regular visits with the girls," he said when she answered. "Once a week to start." "Why should I trust you?" Jasmine asked. "You might disappear again when things get difficult." "I won't," Marcus promised. "I've missed 5 years. I don't want to miss any more." After a long pause, Jasmine agreed. "The girls enjoyed meeting you, but I'll be present for all visits until I'm sure you're serious about this." They arranged to meet at the New England Aquarium the following Saturday. When Saturday arrived, Marcus waited by the main entrance, more nervous than he'd ever been before any business presentation. Jasmine arrived with the girls exactly on time. All 3 girls hid partly behind their mother when they saw Marcus. "Hello," Marcus said, kneeling down to their level. "I thought you might like to see the fish today." Olivia stepped forward first. "Do they have sharks? I read that sharks have to keep swimming or they die." "They do have sharks," Marcus confirmed. "Should we go see them first?" Inside the aquarium, the girls stayed close to Jasmine at first. Marcus walked awkwardly beside them, not sure how to act or what to say. He bought them each a stuffed animal from the gift shop, a shark for Olivia, a dolphin for Emma, and a sea turtle for Ava. As they approached the large ocean tank, Olivia became more animated. She pointed to different fish and recited facts about each one. "That's a green moray eel. They can grow to be 6 feet long, and that's a stingray. They're related to sharks." She looked up at Marcus. "Did you know that?" "I didn't," Marcus admitted. "You know a lot about sea creatures." "I read books about them," Olivia said proudly. "I'm going to be a marine biologist when I grow up. Or maybe an astronaut. I haven't decided yet." As they moved to the next exhibit, a musical water show began. Emma's face lit up at the combination of lights, water, and music. She began swaying to the rhythm, her small body moving with the melody. "Emma loves music," Jasmine explained quietly. "She's been taking piano lessons since she was 4. "She's very good. Emma's piano teacher says she has natural talent," Jasmine continued. "Ava is our quiet observer. She notices everything." As if to prove her point, Ava tugged on Marcus's sleeve and pointed to a small, well-camouflaged fish that neither he nor Jasmine had noticed. "Good eye, Ava," Marcus said. The little girl didn't smile, but she didn't pull away either. They continued to the touch pool, where visitors could gently touch starfish and small rays. Olivia immediately plunged her hands in, following the instructions of the staff member. Emma was more hesitant but eventually joined her sister. Ava stood back, watching carefully. Marcus knelt beside her. "Would you like to try? You don't have to if you don't want to." Ava looked at him for a long moment, then slowly extended her hand. To Marcus's surprise, she slipped her small hand into his. Together they approached the touch pool, and Marcus guided her hand to gently touch a starfish. "It feels bumpy," Ava said softly, the first words she had spoken directly to him. The moment felt significant, though Marcus couldn't exactly explain why. This quiet child, the most hesitant of his daughters, had reached for his hand. As they continued through the aquarium, Marcus noticed Emma lagging behind. Her earlier excitement seemed to have faded, and her face looked pale. Jasmine immediately noticed, too. She knelt down and felt Emma's forehead. "Are you feeling tired, sweetheart?" she asked with concern. Emma nodded. "My tummy hurts a little." "We should probably head back to the hotel," Jasmine said, picking Emma up. "She needs to rest." "Is she okay?" Marcus asked, worried by the sudden change in Emma's energy. "She gets tired easily sometimes," Jasmine said vaguely. "It's been a big day for all of them." As they walked toward the exit, Marcus heard Jasmine's phone ring. She shifted Emma to her other arm and answered. "Yes, Dr. Patel? The test results are back already? I see. Yes, we can come in on Monday morning." Jasmine moved away, speaking more quietly, but Marcus caught phrases like kidney function and further testing. When she returned, her face was composed, but Marcus could see tension in her eyes. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "Just a routine checkup," Jasmine replied, but her tone suggested otherwise. They said goodbye outside the aquarium with promises to meet again the following weekend. As Marcus watched them walk away, he felt both hope and worry. He had connected with his daughters, especially with quiet Ava's small gesture of trust, but something was wrong with Emma. He was sure of it. When Marcus returned home, he found Victoria's assistant supervising movers who were taking her remaining belongings. The woman gave him a cold look but said nothing as men carried paintings, clothes, and personal items out of what had once been their shared home. After they left, Marcus walked through the half-empty house. In their bedroom, Victoria's closet stood completely empty. On his dresser lay her wedding ring with a brief note, "I've signed the divorce papers. My lawyer will contact yours." That evening, Marcus turned on the news and froze when he saw a familiar face on the screen. James Wilson, a former Sterling Technologies employee who had been fired the previous year, was giving an interview. "Marcus Sterling has always been selective with the truth," Wilson was saying. "He portrays himself as a self-made man, but he stepped on many people to get where he is. I'm not surprised he abandoned his own children." Marcus turned off the TV, feeling sick. The personal attack was bad enough, but he knew it would further damage the company. His phone rang. It was David. "Have you seen the news?" David asked. "Wilson's interview?" "Yes." "That's not all. Patricia Hughes has been meeting privately with board members. She's convincing them to vote you out at next month's meeting. She already has 5 votes. She only needs 2 more. Marcus should have felt panic, but instead he felt strangely calm. Let her try. After hanging up, Marcus got in his car and drove to South Boston. He hadn't been to his old neighborhood in years. He parked across from the rundown apartment building where he had grown up with his mother, who had struggled with addiction after his father left them. The building looked smaller than he remembered, the brick exterior crumbling in places. A group of kids played basketball with a milk crate nailed to a telephone pole just like he used to do. Marcus sat in his expensive car, watching the neighborhood he had fought so hard to escape. All his life, he had been running from this place, from the poverty and uncertainty of his childhood. He had clawed his way to success, determined never to be poor or powerless again. When Jasmine told him she was pregnant 5 years ago, his first thought had been fear. Fear of responsibility, fear of being trapped, fear of failing like his own father had failed. So he had run away again, abandoning Jasmine and his unborn children, never imagining they were 3 little girls who would have his eyes and his smile. Now his carefully built life was falling apart, and strangely it didn't frighten him as much as it should have. Something more important had taken its place. 3 small lives that shared his blood, and one of them might be sick. Marcus drove back from South Boston to his Beacon Hill home with a new sense of purpose. The next morning, instead of reviewing the company's financial reports, he searched online for information about kidney diseases in children. What he read worried him. Over the next 4 days, Marcus tried to contact Jasmine for an update on Emma's condition, but his calls went to voicemail. On Thursday morning, as he prepared for work, his phone finally rang. "Hello?" Marcus answered quickly. "It's Jasmine," she said, her voice tired. "I'm at Boston Children's Hospital with Emma. She's been admitted for tests." Marcus gripped the phone tighter. "What's wrong with her?" "The doctors believe she has a rare kidney condition. They're running more tests today, but—" Jasmine paused. "It's serious, Marcus. She might need a transplant." "A transplant?" Marcus repeated, stunned. "I'm coming to the hospital right now." "You don't need to—" "I want to," Marcus interrupted. "She's my daughter." When Marcus arrived at the hospital, he found Jasmine in the pediatric wing waiting room. She looked exhausted, still wearing her military uniform from what must have been an overnight stay. "The doctors are with her now," Jasmine explained. "Olivia and Ava are with my father at the hotel." "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Marcus asked. Jasmine looked away. "We've been managing Emma's condition for the past year. The doctors in Washington thought medication would control it, but she's gotten worse." "Is that why you really came to Boston? Not just so the girls could meet me?" Jasmine nodded slowly. "Emma needs a kidney transplant. I'm not a match. Neither is my father or my sister. We need to test if you're compatible." Marcus sat down, understanding finally dawning. "You didn't come to Boston to ruin my life. You came to save hers." "I didn't know how else to find you," Jasmine admitted. "You blocked my number. You disappeared. When I learned you were in Boston with a new wife and a successful company, I was angry. But Emma's health is more important than my anger." A doctor approached them, clipboard in hand. "General Carter, we've completed the initial tests. Emma's kidney function is down to 20%. We need to schedule a transplant within the next 2 months." "Can I see her?" Marcus asked. The doctor looked questioningly at Jasmine, who nodded her permission. "She's in room 212, the doctor said. "She's tired but awake." Marcus followed the signs to Emma's room. She looked tiny in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines that beeped and monitors that displayed numbers Marcus didn't understand. She had an IV in her small arm and dark circles under her eyes. "Hi, Emma," Marcus said softly. Emma looked up. "Hi," she whispered. "Did you bring the dolphin?" Marcus realized he'd forgotten the stuffed dolphin he'd bought her at the aquarium. "I'll bring it next time. How do you feel?" "Tired," Emma said. "The doctor says my kidneys are sick." Marcus moved closer to the bed. "I heard, but the doctors are very good here." Emma looked at him curiously. "Mom says I might need a new kidney. Where do new kidneys come from?" Marcus sat in the chair beside her bed. "Sometimes they come from people who want to help others. Sometimes from family members." "Like you?" Emma asked directly. The question caught Marcus off guard. "Yes," he said, "like me. Would that be okay with you?" Emma seemed to think about this. "Would it hurt?" "A little," Marcus admitted, "but not for long. Would you have to stay in the hospital too?" "For a few days." Emma nodded as if this made sense to her. Then she pointed to a children's book on her bedside table. "Can you read to me? Mom always reads when I don't feel good." Marcus picked up the book and began to read. Halfway through the story, Emma fell asleep. Marcus continued reading softly until Jasmine appeared in the doorway. "They want to test if you're a compatible donor," she said. "It involves blood work and tissue typing." "I'll do it," Marcus said immediately. "When?" "They can do it now, if you have time." Marcus looked at his watch. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 1 o'clock. It was now 9 in the morning. "I have a board meeting at 1, but I can do the tests now." The testing process took over 2 hours. When Marcus finally left the hospital, he had just enough time to get to Sterling Technologies for the meeting. He didn't go home to change. He arrived at the company wearing the same clothes he'd worn since yesterday, without his usual perfect appearance. David met him in the lobby. "Where have you been?" "I've been calling all morning. The board is already gathering." "I was at the hospital," Marcus said. "Emma is sick. She needs a kidney transplant." David's face softened. "I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do? Just tell me how bad the board situation is." "Bad," David admitted. "Patricia Hughes has 6 votes. She only needs 1 more to remove you as CEO." The boardroom was tense when Marcus entered. Patricia Hughes sat at the far end, her expression confident. The other board members avoided eye contact. David took his seat near Marcus, the only visible ally in the room. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus began. "I understand there are concerns about my leadership." Patricia spoke up immediately. "Concerns is an understatement, Marcus. The company stock has dropped 22%. We've lost 4 major clients. Your personal scandal has become a business liability." Several board members nodded in agreement. "You've always presented yourself as someone with integrity," Patricia continued. "Now we learn you abandoned your pregnant girlfriend and denied your own children for 5 years. How can we trust anything you say?" Marcus took a deep breath. Everyone expected him to defend himself, to fight for his position. Instead, he said, "You're right." A surprised murmur went through the room. "I did abandon Jasmine Carter when she told me she was pregnant. I denied my responsibility. I lied to my wife, to this board, and to myself. I have no excuse." The board members exchanged confused glances. This wasn't the defense they had expected. "What I came to tell you today is that my daughter Emma is in Boston Children's Hospital. She has a serious kidney condition and needs a transplant. I'm being tested as a potential donor." The room fell silent. "I abandoned her before she was born," Marcus continued. "I won't abandon her now when she needs me to survive." He looked around the table at each board member. "I understand if you want to remove me as CEO, but I propose an alternative. I will temporarily step back during Emma's surgery and my recovery. David will serve as interim CEO. After my recovery, we can revisit the leadership question." Patricia Hughes frowned. "This feels like manipulation, Marcus. Using a sick child to save your position." "Think what you want," Marcus replied calmly. "But I'll be having major surgery in the next few weeks, regardless of what this board decides. My priority is my daughter's health, not this company." For the first time in his career, Marcus meant every word. After the meeting ended without a final decision, Marcus returned to his office to gather some personal items. He was surprised when Victoria appeared in his doorway. "David told me about Emma," she said. "I'm sorry she's sick." "Thank you," Marcus replied, not sure what else to say to the woman who was still legally his wife but now felt like a stranger. Victoria entered the office and sat down. "The divorce papers are with your lawyer. I'm not contesting anything. I just want this to be over quickly." "I understand." Victoria looked at him carefully. "You've changed, Marcus. A month ago you would have fought that board with everything you had. Now you're willing to risk your company for a child you barely know." "She's my daughter," Marcus said simply. "Yes, she is." Victoria's expression softened slightly. "What you're doing for Emma shows growth. But our marriage is still over. I built my life with someone who didn't actually exist, the Marcus Sterling who had no past, no complications, no children." "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "You deserved better." As Victoria stood to leave, she paused. "I hope Emma gets better, and I hope you become the father those girls deserve." After she left, David came in with news. "The board voted. They're accepting your proposal for a temporary step back during your surgery and recovery. I'll serve as interim CEO and they'll reassess afterward." Marcus nodded, feeling relieved but also detached. A month ago, this company had been his entire life. Now it seemed secondary to the little girl in the hospital bed. "There's something else," David added. "The medical center called. They have your initial results." Marcus's heart raced. "And? You're a potential match for Emma. They need to do more tests, but it looks promising." For the first time in weeks, Marcus smiled. Then that's what matters now. The next morning, Marcus sat at his kitchen table reviewing medical information instead of business reports. He had printed articles about kidney transplants, recovery times, and success rates. His usual preparation for a board meeting would involve financial spreadsheets and market analyses, but today he barely thought about Sterling Technologies. His phone rang. It was David. "Are you ready for the emergency board meeting?" David asked. "Patricia Hughes has prepared a detailed presentation about why you should be removed as CEO." "I'll be there," Marcus said, "but there's something more important now." "More important than saving your company?" "Yes," Marcus replied. "I'm going to visit Emma at the hospital first. The board meeting can wait." David sighed. "I hardly recognize you anymore, Marcus." "That might be a good thing," Marcus said before hanging up. At Boston Children's Hospital, Marcus carried a small gift bag as he walked through the pediatric wing. Inside was the stuffed dolphin from the aquarium gift shop that Emma had asked about yesterday. When he entered room 212, Emma was sitting up in bed looking at a picture book. Her face brightened slightly when she saw him. "You came back," she said. "I promised I would," Marcus replied, handing her the gift bag. "And I brought your dolphin." Emma pulled out the stuffed animal and hugged it. "Thank you. The doctor says I'm very sick." Marcus sat in the chair beside her bed. "I know, but I might be able to help you get better." "How?" Emma asked. Marcus thought about how to explain kidney transplants to a 5-year-old. "You know how your kidneys are sick?" Emma nodded. "Well, the doctors can give you a new kidney that works better, and it turns out I might be able to give you one of mine." Emma looked confused. "You would give me your kidney?" "Yes," Marcus said. "People have 2 kidneys, but we only need one to be healthy, so I can give you one of mine." "Would it hurt you?" "A little, but not for long, and it would help you feel much better." Emma thought about this. Is that what daddies do? Give kidneys? The simple question caught Marcus off guard. "Yes," he said after a moment. "That's exactly what daddies do. They help when their children need them." Emma hugged her dolphin tighter. "I have a book about kidneys. The nurse gave it to me." She pointed to a children's book on her bedside table titled Katie's New Kidney. Marcus picked it up. "Would you like me to read it to you?" Emma nodded, and Marcus began reading the story about a little girl who received a kidney transplant. The book explained the procedure in simple terms with colorful illustrations. As he read, Marcus realized this was the first time he had ever read a book to any of his daughters. When he finished, Emma seemed less frightened. "The girl in the story got better," she said hopefully. "You'll get better too," Marcus promised. Jasmine entered the room with a doctor. "Marcus, I didn't expect you this morning." "I wanted to see Emma before my board meeting," he explained, standing up. "I was just reading to her about kidney transplants." The doctor stepped forward. "Mr. Sterling, I'm Dr. Martinez. Your initial tests show you're a potential match for Emma. We'll need to do more comprehensive testing, but things look promising." "When can we do the additional tests?" Marcus asked. "Tomorrow morning, if you're available," Dr. Martinez replied. "If everything looks good, we could schedule the transplant for next week." "Next week?" Marcus was surprised by how quickly things were moving. Dr. Martinez nodded. "Emma's condition is deteriorating faster than we'd like. The sooner we can do the transplant, the better her chances for a full recovery." Marcus checked his watch. The board meeting would start in 30 minutes. I'll be here tomorrow morning for the tests. Right now, I have to go to an important meeting, but I'll come back afterward. He turned to Emma. I have to go now, but I'll be back later, okay? Emma nodded. Will you bring Olivia and Ava next time? They miss me. I will, Marcus promised. When Marcus arrived at Sterling Technologies, the boardroom was already full. Patricia Hughes sat at the far end of the table, her expression confident. The other board members whispered among themselves, falling silent when Marcus entered. Thank you for finally joining us, Patricia said coolly. We were beginning to think you weren't coming. I was at the hospital, Marcus replied, not offering more explanation as he took his seat. Patricia stood and began her presentation. She had prepared detailed slides showing the company's falling stock price, lost clients, and negative press coverage since Jasmine's appearance at the previous board meeting. Sterling Technologies has lost 22% of its market value in 1 month, Patricia said, pointing to a graph. 4 major clients have suspended their contracts. Our reputation is severely damaged. She looked directly at Marcus. All of this stems from Mr. Sterling's personal scandal. His lack of judgment in his private life has become a business liability. How can we trust someone who abandoned his own children to make sound decisions for this company? Several board members nodded in agreement. Mr. Sterling has always presented himself as a man of integrity, Patricia continued. Now we know that was a lie. For the good of the company, he must step down as CEO. When Patricia finished, all eyes turned to Marcus. Everyone expected him to defend himself vigorously. Instead, he remained calm. Thank you, Patricia, for that thorough assessment, Marcus began. You're right about many things. I did abandon Jasmine Carter when she told me she was pregnant. I denied my responsibility. I lied to my wife, to this board, and to myself. The board members looked surprised. This was not the defense they had expected. What I want to tell you today is that my daughter Emma is in Boston Children's Hospital with a serious kidney condition. She needs a transplant to survive, and I'm a compatible donor. The surgery is likely to happen next week. The room fell silent. I abandoned her before she was born, Marcus continued. I won't abandon her now when she needs me to survive. He looked around at each board member. I understand if you want to remove me as CEO, but I propose an alternative. I will temporarily step back during the surgery and my recovery period. David will serve as interim CEO. After my recovery, we can reassess the leadership question. Patricia frowned. This feels like manipulation, Marcus. Using a sick child to gain sympathy and save your position. Think what you want, Marcus replied calmly. But I'll be having major surgery next week regardless of what this board decides. My priority is my daughter's health, not this company. Harold Wilson, the oldest board member, spoke up. I think Marcus's proposal is reasonable. A temporary leadership change during his medical absence makes sense. I agree, said Janet Chen, another board member. We can reassess after his recovery. Patricia looked frustrated as support for her position began to waver. After 2 hours of discussion, the board called for a break without reaching a final decision. Marcus stepped out of the boardroom and was surprised to find Victoria waiting in the hallway. David told me about Emma, she said. I wanted to see if you were okay. Thank you, Marcus replied, unsure what else to say to the woman who was still legally his wife but now felt like a stranger. Victoria studied his face. You look different, Marcus. A month ago you would have fought that board with everything you had. Now you're willing to risk your company for a child you barely know. She's my daughter, Marcus said simply. Victoria nodded. Yes, she is. Her expression softened slightly. What you're doing for Emma shows growth, but our marriage is still over. I built my life with someone who didn't actually exist. The perfect Marcus Sterling with no past, no complications, no children. I'm sorry, Marcus said. You deserved better. As Victoria turned to leave, she paused. "I brought back our photo album. I thought you might want it for new memories with your daughters." She handed him a leather-bound album they had kept in their living room. "I hope Emma gets better, and I hope you become the father those girls deserve." After she left, the board reconvened. After another hour of discussion, they reached a decision. David approached Marcus after the meeting. "The board voted to accept your proposal," David said. "You'll temporarily step back during your surgery and recovery. I'll serve as interim CEO, and they'll reassess afterward." Marcus nodded, feeling relieved but also strangely detached. A month ago, this company had been his entire identity. Now it seemed secondary to the little girl waiting for his kidney. "There's something else," David added. "Patricia Hughes was furious about the vote. She threatened to resign from the board if they didn't remove you permanently." "Let her," Marcus said. "Right now, I need to get back to the hospital." Emma asked to see her sisters. As Marcus left Sterling Technologies, possibly for the last time as CEO, he realized he didn't care about Patricia Hughes or the board vote as much as he once would have. For the first time in his life, something mattered more than his company, his reputation, or his success. What mattered was a little girl with his eyes who needed his help to survive. Marcus drove straight from Sterling Technologies to Boston Children's Hospital. When he arrived at Emma's room, he found not only Emma but also Olivia and Ava sitting on the hospital bed. They were playing a card game while Jasmine watched from a chair by the window. "You're back," Emma said, her face brightening at the sight of Marcus. "I promised I would be," Marcus replied. He turned to Jasmine. "How is she doing?" "The doctors are happy with her test results so far," Jasmine said. "They've scheduled additional tests for you tomorrow morning." "I'll be here," Marcus promised. Olivia looked up from her cards. "Mom says you're going to give Emma your kidney." "That's right," Marcus said. "Will you die?" Olivia asked bluntly. "Olivia!" Jasmine scolded. "It's okay," Marcus said. "No, Olivia, I won't die. People have 2 kidneys but only need 1. I can give one to Emma and still be healthy." Olivia considered this information. "That's good. Emma needs to get better so she can come home." Ava, who had been silent until now, reached out and touched Marcus's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. The simple words from his quietest daughter meant more to Marcus than any business accomplishment ever had. Over the next week, Marcus prepared for the transplant surgery scheduled for the following Monday. The additional tests confirmed he was a good match for Emma, and the doctors were optimistic about the outcome. On Wednesday morning, Marcus met with his lawyer in the hospital cafeteria. "I want to update my will," Marcus explained. "I need to include my 3 daughters as beneficiaries." The lawyer looked surprised. "I wasn't aware you had children, Mr. Sterling." "Many people weren't," Marcus admitted. "But I do. 3 daughters, Olivia, Emma, and Ava Carter. They should each receive equal shares of my estate, regardless of what happens with the surgery." After finalizing the will changes, Marcus made another important call to his mother, Nancy Sterling. She lived in an assisted living facility in South Boston, where Marcus had moved her 3 years ago. Their relationship had been strained since Marcus left South Boston, as he had deliberately distanced himself from his humble beginnings. "Mom, it's Marcus," he said when she answered. "I need to tell you something important." "Are you in trouble?" Nancy asked immediately. "No, but I'm about to have surgery. I'm donating a kidney to my daughter." "Your daughter?" Nancy sounded confused. "You don't have children." "Actually, I have 3, Marcus said. "They're 5 years old. Triplets. I only met them recently. It's a long story, but I'd like you to meet them before my surgery." The next day, Marcus arranged for his mother to visit the hospital. Nancy Sterling walked slowly with a cane, her gray hair neatly combed, her clothes simple but clean. Despite her past struggles with addiction, she had been sober for 4 years now. When Nancy entered Emma's hospital room, she stopped in the doorway, her eyes filling with tears as she saw the 3 little girls. "Mom, these are my daughters," Marcus said. "Olivia, Emma, and Ava. "Girls, this is your grandmother, Nancy." "We have a grandmother?" Olivia asked, looking excited. "You certainly do," Nancy said, moving closer to the bed. "And I had no idea I had 3 beautiful granddaughters." "Are you Daddy's mommy?" Emma asked from her hospital bed. "Yes, I am," Nancy replied, sitting in the chair beside Emma. "And I have lots of stories about him when he was a little boy." Was he naughty?" Olivia asked eagerly. Nancy laughed. "Sometimes. He once painted our kitchen wall with spaghetti sauce." The girls giggled, and Marcus felt a strange mixture of emotions watching his mother bond instantly with his daughters. Nancy had been an imperfect parent due to her addiction issues, but seeing her clear-eyed and gentle with his daughters gave him hope that people could change, including himself. Later that day, Jasmine received a phone call that clearly upset her. After the call, she stepped into the hallway, and Marcus followed her. "What's wrong?" he asked. Jasmine sighed. "That was my commanding officer. There's been media attention about our situation, and it's affecting my upcoming promotion to the Pentagon position. They're concerned about the publicity." "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "This is my fault. It's not just you. Someone leaked the story to the military newspaper. They're questioning my judgment for not disclosing my complicated family situation earlier." Marcus thought for a moment. "I might be able to help with the media coverage. I have connections with several journalists who owe me favors. I could make sure the story is presented in a way that highlights your strength, not creates controversy." "Why would you do that?" Jasmine asked. "Because you don't deserve to have your career damaged because of my mistakes," Marcus replied. "You've been an amazing mother to our daughters while building an impressive military career. That should be celebrated, not questioned." Jasmine studied him. "You've changed, Marcus." "I'm trying to," he admitted. The next day, Marcus contacted several media connections. By the weekend, new articles appeared focusing on Jasmine's remarkable achievements as both a military officer and single mother. The stories portrayed her positively, emphasizing her strength and dedication. The military newspaper published a follow-up piece praising her leadership abilities and commitment to service. Meanwhile, at Sterling Technologies, David was managing the transition smoothly. He called Marcus daily with updates, most of which were positive. However, on Friday, his tone changed. "Marcus, I've discovered some financial decisions you made last year that I wasn't aware of," David said. "The quarterly reports show you moved significant funds through a shell company in the Cayman Islands." Marcus closed his eyes. This was the moment he had feared. "I can explain, David." "I'm giving you the chance to," David replied, "before the board finds out." "I was trying to reduce our tax liability," Marcus admitted. "It was technically legal, but ethically questionable. I should have told you." "Yes, you should have," David said. "What do you want me to do with this information?" "The right thing," Marcus replied. "I'll take full responsibility when I return. No more secrets. No more shortcuts." The Sunday before the surgery, Marcus arranged a dinner at his Beacon Hill home. He invited Jasmine, the girls, Richard, Nancy, and David. To his surprise, Jasmine's sister Nicole also came, though she remained coldly polite to Marcus. Marcus had the dinner catered, knowing his cooking skills were non-existent. As they sat around his formal dining table, he was struck by how unusual this gathering was. His former girlfriend, their triplet daughters, her father who hated him, her sister who barely tolerated him, his recovering alcoholic mother, and his best friend who now knew his financial secrets. Yet somehow, they all managed civil conversation for the sake of Emma, who would undergo surgery in less than 24 hours. After dinner, while the adults talked in the living room, Marcus asked to speak privately with each daughter. He took Olivia to his home office first. "This used to be where I worked at home," Marcus explained. "But I'm thinking of turning it into a space for you and your sisters when you visit." "Really?" Olivia's eyes widened. "Could I have a science corner? I want to do experiments." "Absolutely," Marcus promised. "What kind of experiments do you like?" For the next 15 minutes, Olivia enthusiastically described her interest in volcanoes, magnets, and growing crystals. Marcus listened with genuine interest, realizing he was getting to know his science-loving daughter for the first time. Next, he spent time with Emma, promising he would be there when she woke up after surgery. "Are you scared?" Emma asked. "A little," Marcus admitted. "But the doctors are very good, and I know we'll both be okay." "I'm scared too," Emma confessed. "But Mom says you're brave, so I'm trying to be brave too." Finally, Marcus sat with Ava in the quiet corner of the living room. Unlike her sisters, Ava didn't speak much. They sat in comfortable silence until she unexpectedly leaned over and hugged him. "Thank you for helping, Emma," she whispered. Marcus hugged her back, his throat tight with emotion. Later that night, after everyone had left, Jasmine found Marcus on his back patio staring at the night sky. "Thank you for dinner," she said, joining him, "and thank you for what you're doing for Emma." "I'm not doing this to be thanked," Marcus replied. "I'm doing it because it's 5 years too late." Jasmine nodded. "I know, but still thank you." She paused. "The doctor said your recovery will take at least 6 weeks. You won't be able to work or do much physically." "I'll manage," Marcus said. "The girls and I need to return to Washington after Emma recovers," Jasmine continued. "My new position at the Pentagon starts in 2 months." Marcus felt a pang at the thought of the girls leaving Boston. "I understand, but I'd like to keep seeing them. Maybe they could visit on weekends sometimes." "We'll figure something out," Jasmine promised. "You're their father. That won't change, no matter where we live." As Jasmine turned to leave, she added, "Surgery is scheduled for 7 in the morning. They'll prep you first, then Emma." Marcus nodded. "I'll be there at 5 like the doctor asked." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He walked through his empty house thinking about how his life had changed in just 1 month. He had lost his wife, might lose his company, and was about to undergo major surgery. Yet strangely, he felt more purposeful than he had in years. For the first time, he was doing something that wasn't about his success or status. He was giving part of himself, literally, to save his daughter. As terrifying as the surgery was, the decision itself felt simple and right. In the quiet hours before dawn, Marcus made peace with whatever might come next. Whether he still had a company to return to or not, he had found something more valuable. 3 little girls who called him Daddy, and the chance to become the father they deserved. Marcus arrived at Boston Children's Hospital at 5 in the morning. The sky was still dark as he checked in at the reception desk. A nurse led him to a preparation room where he changed into a hospital gown. "We'll start your IV, and then you can see Emma before we take you both to surgery," the nurse explained. "Thank you," Marcus said. His heart beat faster as the reality of the surgery sank in. Dr. Martinez entered the room, clipboard in hand. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. Are you ready for today?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Marcus replied. "How's Emma?" "She's doing well. She's in the room next door with her mother. She asked to see you before the surgery." After the nurse inserted the IV line into Marcus's arm, a hospital attendant wheeled his bed into the hallway. They stopped outside Emma's room, where Jasmine stood. "She's a little scared," Jasmine said quietly, "but she's trying to be brave." Inside, Emma looked tiny in her hospital bed, her dark hair spread across the white pillow. She clutched her stuffed dolphin tightly. "Hi, Emma," Marcus said as his bed was positioned next to hers. "Hi," she whispered. "Are you scared?" "A little," Marcus admitted. "But the doctors are very good." Emma reached out her small hand and Marcus took it. "When we wake up, will I have your kidney inside me?" "Yes," Marcus said, "and it will help you feel much better." "Thank you for giving me your kidney," Emma said solemnly. Marcus squeezed her hand. "You're welcome. I promise everything will be okay." Dr. Martinez entered the room. "It's time to go to the operating room. We'll take Emma first, then Mr. Sterling." As they wheeled Emma away, she looked back at Marcus. "See you later, Daddy." It was the first time any of the girls had called him that, and Marcus felt tears in his eyes. The next thing Marcus remembered was waking up in the recovery room. His side hurt, and his mouth was dry. A nurse noticed he was awake and came to check his vital signs. "How's Emma?" Marcus asked, his voice raspy. "She's doing well," the nurse assured him. "The surgery was successful." Marcus tried to sit up but felt dizzy. The nurse gently pushed him back down. "You need to rest, Mr. Sterling. You had a reaction to the anesthesia. Dr. Martinez will explain more when he comes to check on you." Hours later, Dr. Martinez visited Marcus in his hospital room. "The good news is that Emma's body is accepting the kidney well," the doctor explained. "She's already showing improved function." "And the bad news?" Marcus asked. "You experienced an adverse reaction to the anesthesia. It's not common, but it happens. You'll need to stay in the hospital longer than we initially planned, about a week instead of 3 days, and your recovery at home will be slower." Marcus nodded. As long as Emma is okay, that's all that matters. Over the next few days, Marcus was surprised by the number of visitors he received. On the second day, Harold Wilson and Janet Chen from the board came with flowers. "The whole board sends their best wishes," Harold said. Even Patricia Hughes signed the card, though reluctantly. "How's the company doing?" Marcus asked. "David is handling things remarkably well," Janet replied. "And I must say your sacrifice for your daughter has changed how many of us view you." Marcus's mother visited daily, bringing homemade soup and stories about her growing relationship with her granddaughters. "Olivia is so smart," Nancy said proudly. "She explained how kidneys work to me yesterday. And Ava, that quiet one, she drew me a picture of stars. Said it was the night sky over my apartment." The most unexpected visitor came on the 4th day, Victoria. She arrived with a photo album under her arm. "David told me you were still in the hospital," she explained. "I wanted to see how you were doing." "I'm getting better," Marcus said. "Thank you for coming." Victoria sat in the chair beside his bed. "I wanted to give you this." She handed him the photo album. "It's pictures from our life together. I thought you might want to create new memories with your daughters." Marcus opened the album to see photos of his wedding, their vacations, and their life in Boston. "I'm sorry things ended the way they did," he said. "I am too," Victoria replied. "But I think we both know our marriage was built on a false foundation. You were running from your past, and I was trying to create a perfect life." She stood to leave. "I hope you recover quickly, and I hope those girls get the father they deserve." On the 5th day, Jasmine brought Olivia and Ava to visit. Emma had been released from the pediatric ICU and was recovering in a regular room, healing faster than Marcus. "Emma wanted to see you," Jasmine explained, "but the doctor said she can't walk to your room yet. So we came instead." Olivia immediately began examining all the medical equipment in Marcus's room. "What does this button do?" she asked, pointing to the call button. "That's to call the nurse if I need help," Marcus explained. "Please don't press it unless there's an emergency." Ava approached Marcus's bed quietly and placed a handmade card on his bedside table. "I made this for you," she whispered. The card was decorated with glitter and stickers. Inside, in careful handwriting, it said, "Thank you for helping Emma. Love, Ava." "Thank you, Ava," Marcus said, deeply touched. "This is the best card I've ever received." As the girls became more comfortable, they started asking Marcus questions about his childhood, his favorite foods, and whether he liked the same cartoons they did. With each answer, he could see them building connections, trying to know the father they had missed for 5 years. "Did you have a daddy when you were little?" Olivia asked suddenly. The question caught Marcus off guard. "No," he admitted. "My father left when I was very young. I don't remember him." "That's sad," Olivia said. "Everyone should have a daddy." "I agree," Marcus replied, his throat tight with emotion. On the 7th day, Marcus was finally strong enough to walk short distances. The moment he was able, he asked to visit Emma's room. With a nurse's help, he slowly made his way down the hall. When he entered Emma's room, she was sitting up in bed, playing with a small toy piano that David had brought her. "Daddy!" Emma said, her face lighting up. "You're walking!" "I am," Marcus said, carefully sitting in the chair beside her bed. "And you look much better." "I feel better," Emma said. "The doctor says your kidney is working inside me." "That's wonderful news," Marcus said. "What are you playing?" Emma positioned her fingers on the toy piano keys. "I made a song. Want to hear it?" "I'd love to." Emma played a simple melody, her small fingers pressing the keys with surprising precision. When she finished, she looked up at Marcus. "That was beautiful," he said. Emma studied his face for a moment. "Grandpa Richard says you didn't want to be my dad before. Do you want to be my dad now?" The directness of her question left Marcus speechless for a moment. He took a deep breath before answering honestly. "I was afraid of being a dad before. I'm still afraid, but now I'm more afraid of not being your dad." Emma seemed to accept this answer. "Good, because I like having a dad now." News of Marcus's kidney donation to his daughter eventually leaked to the press. The story quickly spread through Boston business circles and beyond. The narrative shifted from CEO's scandal to CEO's sacrifice, with headlines like "Tech leader donates kidney to save daughter he just met." David visited Marcus in the hospital with printouts of the news articles. "The company's stock has started to recover," David reported. "People love a redemption story." "I didn't do it for the stock price," Marcus said. "I know," David replied. "That's why it's working. For the first time since I've known you, you did something that wasn't calculated for business advantage." David had more news to share. Patricia Hughes has resigned from the board. Officially, she cited personal reasons, but the truth is the other members refused to support her continued campaign against you after the kidney donation. "I'm not sure I deserve their support," Marcus admitted. "Maybe not for past actions," David agreed. "But people can change. I think you're proving that." 2 weeks after the surgery, Marcus was finally discharged from the hospital. As he was wheeled toward the exit, he asked to stop at Emma's room. She was getting ready to leave too, her recovery having gone more smoothly than his. "We're going home on the same day," Emma said excitedly. "That's right," Marcus replied. "And guess what? The doctor says you're doing so well that you can go back to Washington with your mom and sisters next week." Emma's smile faded. "But what about you? Won't you be sad without us?" Marcus took her hand. "I'll miss you very much, but your mom and I are working on a plan so I can see you and your sisters regularly. And when you're all feeling better, maybe you can come stay with me sometimes." "Promise?" Emma asked. "I promise," Marcus said. As he was wheeled out of the hospital with Emma holding his hand, Marcus realized that his body might be weaker, but his purpose had never been stronger. For the first time, he was looking forward to the future not because of business success, but because of 3 little girls who were slowly accepting him as their father. 6 weeks after the transplant surgery, Marcus stood in front of the glass doors of Sterling Technologies. He had spent the recovery time at home focused on healing and learning to be a father during the girls' visits. Now it was time to return to work. As he walked through the lobby, employees stopped to greet him. Their reactions were different from before, less fearful, more genuine. Marcus nodded and smiled, still moving slowly from his surgery. David met him at the elevator. "Welcome back. How are you feeling?" "Better every day," Marcus replied. "The doctor says I'm healing well." "Your old office is ready," David said as they rode up. "Actually," Marcus said, "I'd prefer a different space. Something smaller, closer to the development team." David looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "That corner office has the best view in Boston." "I'm sure," Marcus said. "I've been thinking about a lot of things during my recovery." His new office was half the size of his old one, with a simple desk and comfortable chairs instead of the expensive furniture he once insisted on. After settling in, Marcus asked Jennifer to schedule an all-company meeting for that afternoon. At 2 o'clock, the large conference room was packed with employees. Some looked curious, others nervous. Marcus stood at the front, no longer the intimidating figure he once was. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "As you know, I've been away for 6 weeks recovering from surgery. During that time, I've had a chance to think about this company and my role in it." He took a deep breath. "I built Sterling Technologies claiming to value innovation and integrity while demonstrating neither in my personal life. I failed to live up to the standards I set for everyone else." The room was completely silent. Today marks a new beginning, for me and for Sterling Technologies. I'm announcing several new company initiatives, effective immediately. Marcus outlined the changes: flexible schedules for parents, expanded family leave, and a foundation supporting single parents and children with medical needs. He also introduced the co-CEO structure with David, explaining that David would handle daily operations while Marcus would focus on innovation and the company's ethical direction. "Some of you may not believe that people can change," Marcus concluded. "I understand that skepticism. All I can say is that I'm committed to rebuilding this company on a foundation of actual integrity, not just the appearance of it." After the meeting, the board members gathered in the conference room. Harold Wilson spoke first. "These are significant changes, Marcus. Are you sure the company can afford them?" "We can't afford not to make them," Marcus replied. "Our reputation suffered because of my actions. We need to demonstrate real values, not just talk about them." Janet Chen nodded. "I cautiously support this direction. The foundation for single parents is particularly good PR, given your personal situation." "It's not about PR," Marcus said firmly. "It's about doing what's right." By the end of the week, Marcus had also begun transforming his home. He converted his home office into a shared space for his daughters, who would visit every other weekend while Jasmine was in Washington. He created a science corner for Olivia with a small microscope, chemistry set, and books about experiments. For Emma, he bought a keyboard and headphones. For Ava, he installed a telescope by the window and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. When the girls arrived for their first weekend visit, Olivia ran straight to the science corner. "Is this really all for me?" she asked, eyes wide. "It's yours," Marcus confirmed. "I thought you might like to do experiments when you visit." "Can I mix these chemicals?" Olivia asked, already opening bottles. "Only the ones in the green bottles," Marcus said quickly. "Those are safe to mix. We can read the instruction book together." Emma sat at the keyboard, tentatively pressing keys. Marcus sat beside her. "Do you like it?" he asked. Emma nodded. "It's bigger than my piano at home." She began playing a simple melody. "That's beautiful," Marcus said. "Did your teacher show you that song?" "No, I made it up," Emma said. "I hear music in my head." Later that night, after dinner, Ava asked to use the telescope. Marcus helped her set it up by the window. "You can see Jupiter tonight," Marcus said, adjusting the lens. "It's that bright spot." Ava looked through the telescope, then stepped back so Marcus could see. "There are so many stars," she said quietly. "Do you know their names?" "Some of them," Marcus admitted. "We could learn them together." Ava smiled, a rare, beautiful sight that made Marcus's heart feel full. The following Tuesday, Jasmine called with news. "I got the Pentagon promotion," she said. "I start in 1 month." "Congratulations," Marcus said sincerely. "You deserve it." "Thank you," Jasmine replied. "But there's a complication. The position requires travel, sometimes for weeks at a time. I'm trying to figure out child-care arrangements." "I could take the girls during your longer trips," Marcus offered immediately. "Are you sure? 3 5-year-olds is a lot to handle, especially while you're still running a company." "I'm sure," Marcus said. "I've missed 5 years. I want to be there for them now." After some discussion, Jasmine agreed. "We'll try it for your next longer assignment. If it works out, we can make it a regular arrangement." At Sterling Technologies, Marcus and David established their co-CEO dynamic in a strategy meeting with the executive team. David will oversee daily operations, financial decisions, and client management, Marcus explained. I'll focus on product innovation, company culture, and ethical business practices. Will this affect our decision-making process? Asked the marketing director. Yes, David answered. Decisions will be more collaborative, and we're prioritizing ethical considerations alongside profit. This new approach began attracting attention in the business world. A major tech magazine requested an interview about Sterling Technologies' transformation. 3 new clients signed contracts, specifically citing the company's renewed values as a factor in their decision. People are responding to the changes, David told Marcus after a successful meeting with investors. The stock has recovered almost completely. That's good news, Marcus said, but it's not why we're doing this. I know, David replied. That's why it's working. One afternoon, Victoria asked to meet Marcus for lunch. They chose a quiet restaurant halfway between their offices. The divorce had been finalized the previous week. You look well, Victoria said when they met. The surgery went okay? Yes, I'm almost fully recovered, Marcus replied. Emma is doing great too. They ordered, and Victoria handed Marcus a small package. I found these when I was moving. I thought you might want them. Inside were photos of Marcus's mother from years ago before her addiction worsened. Thank you, he said. Mom will appreciate these. They ate in comfortable silence for a while before Victoria spoke again. I saw the article about Sterling Technologies in the Boston Globe. The company seems to be doing well under the new structure. It is, Marcus confirmed. David is an excellent leader. And you? Victoria asked. Are you happy with your new role? Marcus thought about it. I'm finding purpose in different things now. The company is important, but it's not everything anymore. Victoria nodded. I'm glad you found your way, Marcus. We were never right for each other, but that doesn't mean you weren't meant to be a father. 6 weeks after Emma's transplant, Marcus took her to Boston Children's Hospital for her post-surgery checkup. He sat nervously in the waiting room while Dr. Martinez examined her. What if her body rejects the kidney? Marcus asked Jasmine, who sat beside him. The doctors say that's very unlikely at this point, Jasmine assured him. All her tests have been positive. When Dr. Martinez finally called them into his office, his expression was serious. Marcus felt his heart rate increase. Emma's kidney function is excellent, the doctor announced with a smile. The transplant was completely successful. She'll need to take anti-rejection medication, but otherwise she can return to normal activities. Marcus exhaled. Thank you, doctor. No, thank you, Dr. Martinez replied. Your donation gave your daughter a healthy future. As they left the hospital, Emma took Marcus's hand without prompting for the first time. This small gesture, her tiny hand in his, meant everything to him. It was trust, freely given. Can we get ice cream? Emma asked. Absolutely, Marcus replied, looking at Jasmine, who nodded her approval. With sprinkles? Emma pressed. With sprinkles, Marcus confirmed. As they walked to the ice cream shop, Marcus reflected on how much had changed in just a few months. He had lost his perfect image, his marriage, and his absolute control over Sterling Technologies. But he had gained something far more valuable, a relationship with his daughters, a more authentic self, and a chance to build a life based on truth rather than appearance. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Co-parenting with Jasmine would require patience and compromise. Building a truly ethical company would mean difficult decisions and possibly lower profits. Earning his daughter's complete trust would take time. But for the first time in his adult life, Marcus wasn't running from difficulty. He was walking straight toward it, with Emma's small hand in his and a future that felt rich with possibility. 1 year after Jasmine had walked into the Sterling Technologies boardroom, Marcus's backyard was filled with balloons, streamers, and the sound of children laughing. It was the triplets' 7th birthday, and Marcus had insisted on hosting the party at his home. "More juice, please," Olivia called from the table where 5 children were conducting what she called a science experiment, but looked suspiciously like mixing different foods together. "Coming right up, Professor Olivia," Marcus replied, carrying a pitcher of apple juice. He wore jeans and a casual shirt instead of his once mandatory business suits. Jasmine approached, smiling at the scene. "I never imagined this a year ago," she said. "You've really transformed this place." Marcus's once sterile house now had children's artwork on the refrigerator, toys in the living room, and photos of the girls throughout. The backyard had a swing set, a sandbox, and today, a bouncy castle. "I had help," Marcus said, nodding toward his mother Nancy, who was showing Emma how to make a paper airplane. Richard Carter, Jasmine's father, sat nearby watching the children play. Over the past year, he and Marcus had developed a cautious respect for each other. Today, he was chatting with David and his wife, who had brought their 2 children to the party. "Your dad seems to be enjoying himself," Marcus observed. Jasmine nodded. "He's come around. Seeing how much the girls love you has helped." Even Nicole, Jasmine's sister, had softened her stance toward Marcus. She was currently helping Ava set up a telescope on the patio to look at birds in the nearby trees. "I have a surprise for the girls," Marcus said. "After cake." The birthday cake was shaped like a piano for Emma, with science beakers for Olivia and stars for Ava. The girls blew out their candles together as everyone sang "Happy Birthday." After cake and presents, Marcus stood up. "I have one more surprise for Olivia, Emma, and Ava. It's upstairs." The girls looked at each other excitedly and followed Marcus into the house, with the adults trailing behind. At the top of the stairs, Marcus stopped in front of 3 closed doors. "These rooms are for you," he said, "for whenever you stay here." He opened the first door to reveal a science-themed bedroom with constellations painted on the ceiling, a small desk with a microscope, and bookshelves filled with science books. The bed had a periodic table bedspread. "This is Olivia's room," Marcus announced. Olivia's eyes widened. "My own science room?" She ran inside, immediately examining everything. The second door opened to a music studio with sound-absorbing panels on the walls, a digital piano, and music notes painted above the bed. "For Emma," Marcus said. Emma walked in slowly, touching the piano keys with reverence. "It's beautiful," she whispered. The third room was painted dark blue with glow-in-the-dark stars and planets on the ceiling and walls. A telescope stood by the window, and the bed was shaped like a spaceship. "And this is for Ava," Marcus said. Ava entered the room silently, then turned and wrapped her arms around Marcus's waist. "Thank you," she said. "This means the house is our second home?" Olivia asked. "That's right," Marcus confirmed. "Whenever you're here, you each have your own space." While the children explored their new rooms, the adults gathered downstairs. "That was very generous," Richard said to Marcus. "The rooms are perfect for each girl." "They deserve it," Marcus replied, "and more." Later, as the party wound down and guests began to leave, Marcus noticed a shift in Jasmine's mood. She seemed preoccupied, checking her phone frequently. "Is everything okay?" he asked when they had a moment alone. Jasmine sighed. "I received new orders yesterday. I'm being assigned to NATO headquarters in Brussels. 2 years. 2 years overseas?" Marcus asked, surprised. "When do you leave?" "In 6 weeks," Jasmine replied. "I'm trying to figure out what to do about the girls." Marcus hesitated only briefly. "They could stay with me." "For 2 years?" Jasmine asked skeptically. "Marcus, that's a huge responsibility. 3 7-year-old girls full-time while running a company." "We've been doing well with our current arrangement," Marcus pointed out. "They stay with me when you travel, sometimes for weeks. They're comfortable here now. They have their rooms. They're settled in their school." "It would be a complete role reversal," Jasmine said thoughtfully. "For 5 years I raised them alone while you weren't there. Now you'd be their primary caregiver while I'm overseas." "They would visit you during school breaks," Marcus suggested, "and we'd video call every day. It wouldn't be ideal, but it might be better than uprooting them completely." Jasmine looked out at the backyard where the girls were playing one last game before the party ended. "Let me think about it. This isn't a decision to make lightly." That evening, after all the guests had left and the girls were getting ready for bed in their new rooms, Jasmine found Marcus cleaning up in the kitchen. "I've been thinking about your offer," she said. "If we're going to do this, we need clear parameters." "Of course," Marcus agreed. "Whatever you think is best." "I'd want to see them for all school vacations. Christmas, spring break, summer," Jasmine said, "and daily video calls." "Absolutely," Marcus nodded. "And I'd need to know that your mother and David are backup support when you have business obligations," Jasmine continued. "The girls can't be shuffled between babysitters." "Mom has already offered to move into the guest room part-time," Marcus said. "And David's wife Lisa loves the girls. She's offered to help any time." Jasmine took a deep breath. "Then I think we should try it. The girls are happy here, and they're thriving in their school. Moving them to Brussels would mean a new language, new friends, new everything." Marcus felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you for trusting me with them." "A year ago I wouldn't have," Jasmine admitted. "But you've proven yourself. You've become the father they deserve." Later that night, after Jasmine left and the girls were asleep in their new beds, Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from David. Major Tech Monthly wants to profile Sterling Technologies' remarkable turnaround. They're calling it From Scandal to Success. Interview next week? Marcus looked at the message but didn't immediately respond. Instead, he walked upstairs to check on his daughters. Olivia was asleep with a science book still open beside her. Marcus carefully removed it and placed it on her nightstand. In Emma's room, she had fallen asleep with headphones still on, gentle music playing. Marcus softly removed them and turned off the music player. Ava's room glowed with the soft light of stars on the ceiling. She slept surrounded by a galaxy of points of light. Marcus sat in the hallway between their rooms, where he could see both Olivia and Ava while listening to Emma's gentle breathing from across the hall. 1 year ago, he had been alone in a perfect empty house, his life built on lies. Now, his home was messy, full of toys and children's laughter, but built on truth. His phone buzzed again with another text from David. "Marcus? About the interview?" Marcus typed a reply. "Schedule it for after-school hours. I'm not missing pickup this week." He put the phone away and continued his quiet vigil outside his daughter's rooms. In the morning, he would make them breakfast before school. Next week, he would begin preparing for 2 years as their primary caregiver. In the summer, he would take them to visit Jasmine in Brussels. His life had completely changed, but he wouldn't trade it for anything. The corner office with its view of Boston had never given him the peace he felt sitting in this hallway, watching over the 3 lives he had almost missed. The company would continue to thrive under his and David's leadership. The Foundation for Single Parents was already helping hundreds of families. Emma had even become an unofficial ambassador, visiting children's hospitals to share her transplant success story. But as Marcus listened to the soft breathing of his 3 daughters, he knew that his greatest achievement wasn't Sterling Technologies or its stock price or its reputation. It was the trust of 3 little girls who now called him Dad without hesitation. It was the knowledge that when Emma had needed him most, he had been there. It was Olivia's excited chatter about science and Ava's quiet hand slipping into his when they walked together. Morning would come soon, bringing a new day of school lunches, business meetings, and the beautiful chaos of family life. But for now, in the quiet darkness, Marcus Sterling, once defined by his success and status, found himself measuring life differently, not by what he had built, but by whom he loved and who loved him in return. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time, just click on the screen